Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, May 19th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Some startling new numbers are out tonight involving homelessness in San Diego County. The report paints a troubling picture of a problem that's become all too visual in many communities. We're also getting a better idea of just who is now living on our streets. Here's KPBS reporter John Carroll.
It's a problem that is as vexing as it is sad. Despite major efforts by local, regional, and state governments to get the unsheltered off the streets, the issue persists.
Our communities from San Ysidro to Oceanside are all seeing an increase in individuals who need housing they can afford, and, minus that, they're experiencing homelessness.
The point-in-time count was conducted in the early morning hours of February 24th. It is full of data, but here are some top-line takeaways. More than 8,400 people are experiencing homelessness in the county. More than half of them are in shelters. About 4,100 are on the streets, a 3% increase from 2020. Of those, 713 are in vehicles.
It doesn't matter how folks have ended up on the streets. It's my responsibility to get as many of them off the streets as quickly as possible.
Not surprisingly, the lion's share of homeless folks in the county are in the city of San Diego. But Mayor Todd Gloria says it's not for lack of trying to solve the problem.
My administration has been responsible for a 25% expansion in the number of shelter beds in the city of San Diego.
The demographics of who's unsheltered are changing. The number of families without their own place to live is up 56%, and the number of older people is going up.
We also are seeing an aging population with greater physical disabilities that they identified. So I think we're seeing things just more challenging on the street.
A common theory as to why San Diego's homeless issue can seem so intractable has to do with our weather. If you're living outside, this is a better place to be than a lot of other places, but Mayor Gloria says that is an urban myth.
And you're talking about 70 to 80% are native local types who were living sheltered successfully and then became unsheltered in that community.
The point-in-time count did offer a couple of bright spots. The number of chronically homeless people is down, as is the number of vets experiencing homelessness. But the overall message from the count is clear. We've got a lot more work to do and a long way to go before finally being able to say the homeless crisis is behind us. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A protest is underway right now involving controversial issues in the San Dieguito Union High School District. At the center of it, the call for one board member to resign and the reinstatement of the superintendent currently on leave. And KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne is live at the district's headquarters in Encinitas, where that protest is now underway. Tanya.
Thanks, Maya. That's right. Today, there's a group of protesters rallying outside of the district office over recent controversies in the district. One group is asking for the reinstatement of Superintendent Cheryl James Ward, and the other group wants her fired. As you can see right now, there's a crowd in the background, and let me give you a little bit of background. Ward is currently on administrative leave because of remarks she made about Asian families during a district training. She has since apologized for the comments, but still has no answer on whether or not she will be fired from a job that she's only had for a couple of months. The board is discussing that in tonight's meeting. At the same time, board member Michael Allman is accused of bullying and racist and sexist behavior, accusations he denies. We talked to Allman before the board meeting.
Vehemently deny it. There is an independent investigation happening now, so I'm not going to be able to go into too much details, but I do think that I'll be completely vindicated in a matter of weeks.
Before Ward was placed on leave, she made a formal claim about Trustee Allman's behavior that is still under investigation. Part of today's rally was organized by Molly Woods Drake, the president of Encinitas for Equality. They feel that Ward's leave came as retaliation for the claims against Allman. Here's what Woods Drake told us earlier.
Intent really matters, and she recognized that she made a mistake. She owned up to it and then came out with, here's solutions to move forward. Trustee Allman, on the other hand, has made zero effort. He made zero effort to apologize for using homophobic slurs and saying that the theater club is where gay kids go. You know, there is a huge difference in intent.
Attorneys representing Ward say they are ready to take legal action if she is fired. Live in Encinitas, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Thanks, Tanya. San Diego County says COVID-19 booster shots may soon be available for children aged 5 through 11. Pfizer boosters for the age group are currently pending approval from the Western States Committee. Health officials say while symptoms tend to be less severe in children, the Omicron variants have been making more San Diego children sick. Today, the county reported just over 7,000 total COVID cases in the past week, compared to just under 5,000 from the previous week. The Biden administration is taking new actions to help alleviate the nationwide baby formula shortage. It comes as the Senate now takes on a pair of bills to address the problem. Details now from reporter Isabel Rosales.
A frantic scramble to find baby formula.
This is what we're dealing with. Nothing at all.
Store shelves running dry and desperation climbing higher.
Every day I worry about it. Every day. What if she runs out? Like, what do I do?
The hunt for formula has landed some children in the hospital. In Tennessee, 2 children suffering from dehydration when the specialty formula they rely on ran out. Their doctor says they're doing much better now.
We've gotten a supply from one of the alternate manufacturers of an amino acid-based formula, which is what these children needed.
Nationwide outrage and distress. Demands to find a solution.
This is a basic need for babies. Something has to be done right now.
President Biden invoking the Defense Production Act, directing raw ingredients to go to formula makers first. The president also launching Operation Fly Formula, using Defense Department planes to import formula from abroad.
These are great moves, but it's probably going to take weeks, to be honest.
The House passing a pair of bills Wednesday. One would provide millions in emergency funding to the FDA to boost the number of personnel working on formula issues. The other would ensure families in need can continue to buy baby formula with WIC benefits. But the Senate still needs to vote.
I want everyone to know that this is serious. This is unacceptable.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
And a new record was set in San Diego County, but this one is nothing to celebrate. The average price for regular gas went up again, just to over $6 a gallon. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has more on the increase and a federal bill to stop price gouging.
San Diego County residents are struggling with gas prices that have hit an all-time high. The average price for a gallon of gas is $6.02 a gallon. That's 1 penny higher than yesterday, 17 cents higher than a week ago, and 28 cents higher than a month ago.
I do actually drive a lot less. I've had to pick up a lot less shifts at work just because I haven't been able to afford to get to downtown and stuff like that, and so it's been kind of rough.
I've actually had to change my economic circumstances a little bit. So I stopped going to my local gym. I've been just walking to my even closer gym. Yeah, I mean, I only ever use it to commute to work, which is only like 15 miles away once a week. But yeah, I try to just walk to the store, just do the best I can to not drive.
And we know that what has caused this, by and large, are 3 factors. I call them the three Ps. Pandemic, Putin, and price gouging.
Congressman Mike Levin says it's time for government to step in.
Exxon last year with $24 billion in profit, most in the last 8 years. Record stock buybacks and dividends and executive compensation from the oil industry. Same with Chevron, $15.6 billion last year, record profit.
That's why he introduced legislation aimed at stopping oil companies from artificially increasing gas prices. The Transportation Fuel Market Transparency Act was just passed in the House of Representatives.
We're going to hold them to account. The American people aren't going to take any more of this price gouging from big oil. So the bill that we passed today in the House of Representatives. It basically gave the Federal Trade Commission the authority to increase the penalties for price gouging. And it gave them the resources for holding this industry to account.
The fact of the matter is that California does have the most expensive gasoline in the U.S.
Marie Montgomery with AAA says for a while, it seemed prices would get back to normal. They even went down 30 cents in Southern California.
Prices reversed course when the EU announced a proposal to completely cut off Russian oil from all of its member countries. And when that happened, then that sort of got the ball rolling in terms of anxieties about future supplies and where we would be getting our oil and gasoline from worldwide.
Montgomery says the truth is no one knows what we can expect when it comes to gas prices and supplies. So whether it's legislation or refunds from the state, every little bit helps. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Did you trade in your 4 wheels for 2 today? Thousands of people did because it's Bike to Work Day, an event that's been celebrated for more than 30 years. As part of Bike Month in May, the annual San Dieguito event has been on hiatus since the start of the pandemic. With today's return, a big success. Cyclists got lots of support at 100 different pit stops where they could fuel up on some healthy snacks.
One of the reasons why I wanted to move to Pacific Beach was because the commute to work is just right up this path, and they connected the bridge down there, made it really easy. It saved a lot of time.
And Bike to Work Day is recognized as a national event. It's meant to support biking as an everyday cost-saving choice for commuting to work that's also has some environmental benefits. Lowrider cruising will continue in National City next month, but organizers may face a hefty bill to keep it going. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer explains.
A 30-year ban was lifted on lowrider cruising in National City earlier this month as part of a temporary 6-month trial period. After the event, city officials gave the United Lowrider Coalition organizers a post-event assessment and 8 recommendations, including 1 to have a police sergeant and 6 officers at each event at a cost of $7,813 each time.
We're not charging anybody to cruise down Highland Avenue. We're not making any money. We don't have that kind of money to pay per cruise.
United Lowrider Coalition member Jovita Arellano says she's unsure if the extra police are needed and where their organization will get that kind of money. The National City Police Department said that the last cruise event lasted longer than expected and drew a crowd much bigger than planned for in the group's application for a temporary use permit, or TUP. Police say they received several calls about problems during the event, but the Lowrider Coalition's political advisor, Aida Castañeda, says their group shouldn't be responsible for bad actors who take advantage of what she calls a family-friendly event.
And honor the fact that it is a public right-of-way. We talk about constitutionality, and if we even can have a law that doesn't allow people to congregate in a space. So we are asking really interesting questions that deal with our right to walk a public street.
National City Mayor Alejandra Sotelo Solis says cruising will continue in the South Bay City.
We wanted to clarify that the cruises will not be eliminated. And secondly, there aren't any resources or requirements that are being asked of the ULC, of the United Lowrider Coalition, that are not being asked of any other TUP permit holders.
The city will meet organizers next Monday to go over recommendations, which include provisions for crowd management, public safety, and the creation of a traffic plan. Lowrider cruise nights are planned for the first Friday of every month until October under a trial basis, with the next cruise event set for June 3rd. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Chula Vista will have a new mayor for the first time since 2014. Whoever is elected will have to address the city's structural budget deficit and try to bring a 4-year university to the South Bay. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis talked to 4 of the 6 candidates in the race.
Chula Vista's structural budget deficit is projected to grow to $12 million in less than a decade, and the next mayor will have to address the city's finances. Every candidate agrees that Chula Vista needs to do a better job of attracting businesses and growing its tax base, but how they plan to go about it is very different. City Council member Jill Galvez says that the city simply needs to watch how much it spends.
So going forward, you always have to be mindful that things can happen and you don't spend money that you don't have. Right now, what we're facing is high inflation. And so we're seeing the cost of energy go up significantly. We've seen the cost of gas, which impacts our over 700 vehicle fleet.
Sanera Encarnacion is a first-time candidate. She wants to take a more proactive approach when it comes to business development.
Could really be targeting and be much more proactive than we've ever been at identifying who are the likely work centers or employers to come down to Chula Vista. Let's go talk to them and find out what they need, right, to make that decision. And we need to be doing that 2 years out from when we know their lease is going to be up, right? Like, we need to be so much more proactive than we've ever been.
Amar Campanajar ran for Congress twice in the East County. He says the current mayor and city council have left a lot of money on the table, particularly from the federal government.
And I've heard, our current mayor has gone to meetings and asked for earmarks past the deadline. And it is just unnerving to hear that. That's millions of dollars on the table. And instead of getting those earmarks, we have to raise local taxes. And so, or just live with the deficit.
Rudy Ramirez was on the city council from 2006 to 2015. He also says the city needs to do more to attract businesses.
I would invest in getting this land more readily available for an employer. Right now, if an employer wants to come to Chula Vista, they're telling them, they're 4 years out before they can start operating. An employer doesn't want to hear that. They'll go somewhere else.
The other big campaign issue is a decades-long plan to bring a 4-year university to Chula Vista. The city set aside 400 acres of land and even offered leases for as little as $1, but nobody has taken their offer. Campanajar says there's just no confidence in the city's current political leadership to get anything done.
I think that it's a lack of confidence in our city. I mean, we have a city where our leadership has not been able to deal with our deficits, has not been able to take out the trash. So investors look at our city, it's like, if you can't take out the trash, how are you going to build a university or a bayfront?
Encarnacion has university experience. She currently works at Southwestern College, where she helped San Diego State University bring a 4-year degree program there. Chula Vista took too long to bring this service to the South Bay, she says.
With all due respect to the city, we kind of saw, we have to take the range of academic program planning because we're the experts, and our students here in South County can't wait for the city to find a university to come and do it.
Ramirez also thinks that Chula Vista's approach has been all wrong. He thinks that the city should bring research companies to the South Bay first.
And I think they've been approaching it in the wrong way. First, hoping that they could, that a UC system or a state system would come down and decide to settle in Chula Vista. I think early on we knew that wasn't likely to happen.
Ramirez added that research companies that work in biotech and aerospace are investing millions in North County. The city should try to bring some of that money south. Galvez says that the city needs to explore private funding options to help lure universities to Chula Vista. She'd like to start an endowment and build relationships with top donors.
Past councils have invested millions of dollars in studying, what people want, but it's, getting from there to getting to the place of what people will donate to build is another matter. When you go on any university campus, you see that the buildings are named from the philanthropist.
Election day is June 7th, and you can already drop off your ballots. The top 2 vote-getters will face off in November. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
There are 6 candidates in the race. Councilman John McCann was not available for a recorded interview. Retired Army Major Spencer Cash declined to answer questions about city finances. For everything you need to know about the June primary, go to kpbs.org and click on the Voter Hub tab. You'll find our ballot guide breaking down all races and candidates, as well as locations to vote or to drop off your ballot. The coastal cloud cover that we call May gray and June gloom traditionally keeps spring and early summer temperatures comfortable in San Diego, but scientists at Scripps Institution of Oceanography say that natural AC may be disappearing. Researchers used airport records to compare weather trends going back decades. They linked fewer days of fog and low-level clouds to the urban heat island effect. That's when natural land cover is replaced with things like concrete, asphalt, and rooftops, which increases nighttime temperatures and dries out the clouds.
LA, we see the strongest trends towards less fog and low clouds in the early morning. We also see that to some extent in San Diego. In Santa Barbara and the Channel Islands, where we had less urban land cover, the trend wasn't as strong or wasn't there at all.
Researchers say greenhouse gases also likely play a role, but they're still working to figure it out. If these trends continue, summers would be warmer and drier at the coast.
We've been dealing with some low clouds and some patchy drizzle, all because of that deep marine layer that will be staying the course for the rest of this evening and also into those morning hours for tomorrow. And then we have gusty winds in the mountain and the deserts and some fire weather concerns across other areas in the southwest. And then temps will take a little bit of a dip as we head into the weekends. I did mention the wind advisories. Really, you're looking at Palmdale points north up through Ridgecrest that you'll have those wind advisories that run through this evening into very early tomorrow morning. At the coast, with some cloud coverage, temperatures only falling back to low 60s, mid 50s for Ramona, Escondido, 57, El Cajon, 59, Chula Vista. You'll fall back to around 60 degrees more interior. You could see some slightly cooler temperatures. Mount Laguna about 57, Borrego Springs, you'll be in the mid 60s. Here comes this cold front that will be pushing its way to the south, so the heat will compress areas south of there, I would say east of Los Angeles rather, and then through Phoenix all the way up to Albuquerque. And on the backside of this, across the northern Great Basin, much cooler temperatures. But right here across San Diego and across our coastal areas, there's a very deep marine layer that will just bring us some thick cloud coverage, and those low clouds, they'll work their way inland throughout the day on Friday. And then even more so interior late Friday night, Ramona, Mount Laguna. I do think that a lot of the clouds will stay to the west of the mountains. Again, that could bring some showers to places like Oceanside with the drizzle that I mentioned, 69 degrees. Escondido, you'll get to 72, Ramona 74. Sunshine, though, around Mount Laguna and Borrego Springs. Temperatures around 95 in Borrego Springs. And the warmth continues to build for your Sunday. Areas where it's cold will be well to the east around Grand Junction and Denver. Pretty cold for May. At the coast, there's that cooler trend leading into the weekend. Temperatures staying around 70, warming up to 80s further inland by the time we get into the start of next week. And across the mountain areas, mid 60s for Sunday and then onward into Monday. Desert triple-digit heat continues and picks back up Monday and Tuesday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Michelle Rotella.
The Carlsbad 5000 running race is known as the world's fastest 5K because of the world records that are set there. Now, after 3 years, it's making a comeback on Sunday. About 6,000 runners are expected to turn out for the races. Olympian and San Diegan Meb Keflezighi says for people who picked up running or walking during COVID, an organized event like this is welcome.
A lot of people can do it. We welcome you and looking forward to putting medals, be there and running myself and then putting medals around people's neck. And it's what a triumph it is.
In the past, Meb ran the race at around a 4-minute mile. Now, he plans to run at the far more reasonable 8 or 9-minute pace. This weekend, independent films offer the best movie choices in San Diego. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando highlights 2 films that are worth checking out at local art house venues.
In the film Emergency, an unconscious white girl mysteriously ends up on the living room floor of an apartment belonging to a trio of college roommates. The simple thing to do would be to call 911.
Okay, she's alive. We should call 911.
Hey, stop! Are you crazy?
We didn't do anything wrong.
We don't have to do nothing wrong, Kunle. The cops are not gonna listen. They just gonna come in here and see 3 brown guys hanging over this little white girl.
What should have been a legendary tour of spring break parties turns into a nightmare as the roommates try to get the girl to a hospital.
It looks like she's in that car.
The film overcomplicates the story to get to its point of an all too familiar tragic confrontation between cops and people of color. The same themes could have been addressed with a less convoluted plot and with less awkward humor. But the message is still a potent one, and Kunle's realization of a racism that he had not personally experienced is powerfully rendered.
Santé.
Gaspar Noé's Vortex opens with a serene moment between an elderly couple.
La vie est un rêve, non?
But brace yourself. It's the only moment of comfort you'll have in a devastating and unflinching look at the horrors people can face at the end of life. Noe is honest about his purpose and dedicates the film to all those whose brains decompose before their hearts. So we get a brutal portrait of what that deteriorating mind can be like.
T'as peur?
Noe employs a split screen to separate the husband's and the wife's differing experiences as they approach a bleak and unsentimental death. The film's difficult to watch, but brilliantly rendered. Noe is known for being a rude and merciless provocateur, but this film may display his most genuine humanity. I recommend it, but I can't really call it entertainment. Beth Agamondo, KPBS News.
Dr. Taylor Swift. Yes, you heard that right. The 11-time Grammy Award winner was honored at New York University with an honorary doctorate degree in fine arts. And she delivered a commencement speech to the university's 2022 graduating class of 19,000. Held at Yankee Stadium, it was the school's 188th commencement ceremony. In her speech, the recording artist stressed that effortlessness is a myth and to never be ashamed of trying.
The people who wanted it the least were the ones I wanted to date and be friends with in high school. The people who want it the most are the people I now hire to work for my company.
Dr. Swift is the only female artist in history to win the music industry's highest honor, the Grammy Award for Album of the Year, 3 times. Congratulations. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.